Welcome back to Kitchen Table Wargaming for another Kitchen Table Wargaming Battle Report. This is going to be another combat patrol game. This one is called Incisive Attack. It is from the core rulebook, 40k 9th edition core rulebook. In this mission, you'll see these deployment zones are on the back edge, or I guess on the short edge, on both sides of the battlefield. And you have 4 objective markers placed around the field. And in this mission, the secondary objective is if you can, it's called Surgical Strike, I believe. If you can control your opponent's, not opponents, but the objective marker in your opponent's deployment zone, then you get 5 points at the end of your turn. So that's interesting if you've got fast, durable stuff. As you can see, as I'm painting the field, we have Admech versus Drukhari. And we will take a closer look at them in just a second. Just wanted to show you the battlefield, discuss what the mission type was, and then we will come back with a close-up look at each of the armies. For the Drukhari today, as I mentioned in a previous battle report, I'm really trying to figure out a good, punchy, durable list for Drukhari. It's been tricky. So this list is going to be Kabalite Warriors. This is going to be Blackheart. So we have a squad of 5 warriors. They're all just rocking the splinter rifles. Have an Archon with a blast pistol, and he is the warlord, has Labyrinthine Cunning, and he has the Djinn Blade for his relic. And of course Drazar, because you need something to kill things. Then we also have a Ravager. He is a triple disintegrator Ravager and a Venom. So hopefully, being all Blackheart, there's a little bit more durability for the vehicles. There's a little bit more shooting coming out, and we'll see. It'll be an interesting mix. This battlefield should help the Drukhari out a bit, actually. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll give this a go, and we will come back after we discuss the Admech. So for the Admech, we are Forge World Mars. The Tech Priest is the warlord, and he has the divinations of the Magos again. Thinking that there will be a bit of castling happening with the Tech Priest and the robots. The Vanguard will hopefully be able to get out, score objectives, do some shooting. The robots are going to move around and do their shooting as well. For this game, the Tech Priest is taking the relic, the Red Axe, so if he gets into combat, he'll be a little bit killier. Hopefully that'll work out in the advantage of the Admech. We also have the robots with the triple phosphor blasters this time, no fists, so they're going to be extremely shooty. The Vanguard squad, the darker Vanguard squad here on the right, just has radium carbines and the Omnispecs. The squad that's a little bit more silver does have 2 plasma calibers as well as the Omnispecs. So we'll see if, I don't know, honestly, the shooting is going to be great with the battlefield. The line of sight could become a bit of a problem, a bit of a challenge. So we're going to see how this plays out. I think that the Admech are going to have to be a little cagier, set up some shooting castles, and make the Drukhari come at them. So we'll come back at the beginning of the game. We'll do we'll determine the roll-off and deployment zone. All those good things will get done, and then we'll come back to start the game. So you should have just seen the secondaries chosen by each of these armies. Secondaries for the Admech were a little bit harder to choose. Feel like the Drukhari were able to get some good ones for them. You've got 1 squad of Kabalite Warriors here. You've got an Archon down in between the 2 vehicles, the Ravager there. Then the Venom has the other squad of Kabalite Warriors inside. You have Drazar, who has used a CP to put himself into the webway, so he will be coming in at another time. Got 1 squad of Vanguard over here. They've got an eye on that objective, as well as hopefully being able to run up and advance and shoot the Venom. The Castellan robots, Datasmith and Tech Priest here, and then the other squad of Vanguard on this side. The Drukhari actually got to choose deployment zones, and it did not occur until later that the Castellans can move through this dense cover of the Mechanicum scaffolding thing here, so they're not actually blocked out of the center of the field. Could have become a tactical error. We will have to see. The idea with the Drukhari was that this would block out the robots and make them have to walk all the way around the corners to get line of sight on things. So still a -1 to hit is going to be helpful. So yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. And we'll go ahead and roll for first turn. So the Drukhari will roll first. They rolled a 5. And for the Admech, it's a 5. So Drukhari once again. That's a 1 and a 1. Okie dokie. Sometime this game will start. 5 again for Drukhari. And 5 again. Unbelievable. It's a 1 and it is a 3. So the Admech finally win the roll-off. Admech will have turn 1. And let's see how this game plays out. The movement phase is done for the Admech. I did want to add a quick note. The Data Priest, the Admech did spend a CP to give him a Warlord trait, which is the, what's it called? The Chorister Technus. Essentially what it does is it allows him to reroll a die roll on the Canticles for random rolling, which in this case proved to be helpful. The Mars lets you roll 2 die, and you take both of those for your Canticles. In this case, they rolled 2 4s, which is Shroud Psalm, which is necessary, but then with the Chorister Technus, rerolled one of them into a 2, and because of the Mars Forge World, I guess sneakiness, I'm trying to think what it's called. They're given a rule now with Psychic Awakening where you can replace a Canticle with one specific to their Forge World. And in this case, I replaced the number 2 Canticle, which is their, it's the one that does damage in the combat phase if you're within an inch of an enemy. Electro something, I don't remember what it's called, but I gave it that one was replaced with the Mars Forge World one, which gives your heavy weapons an extra strength and extra AP. I'll reread the rules to make sure I'm using that right. But essentially, the Castellan robots carrying lots of heavy weapons will do extra damage and be extra killy whilst that Canticle is in play. So that's happening with them. Robots, Data Smith, and the Tech Priest shuffled forwards. This Vanguard squad moved and advanced and only got an inch on the advance roll with a command point. So Admech was at 3 or was at 2 to start, went up to 3, then spent 1 for a very failed advance. They were trying to get to that objective. They did not. This squad of Vanguard came around the back because we did not want Drazar to be popping in and being able to charge directly into the Tech Priest. There's still ways that Drazar can do that, but it's going to be a little trickier this way, so they're going to kind of screen from the back for him. So we'll come back after the shooting phase is done, and we'll discuss what all has happened. Alrighty, so end of the turn for the Drukhari. The Venom moved forward, no advancing or anything. The Venom and the Kabalite warriors were unable to kill the Vanguard squad thanks to the Shroud Psalm. And poison weapons having no AP, even though there were a lot of hits. They saved everything. The Archon scooted forward because the Ravager originally stopped itself here, so it had line of sight to both the Vanguard squad and the Destroyers, or the Castellan robots, and was in the reroll 1's range. Ended up not mattering, hit all its shots, and then wounded all but 1, and it ended up putting everything into the Vanguard, because the Drukhari took first strike. And it was a good thing too, because as I was getting ready to roll hits, I realized that the Ravager had 2 disintegrator cannons and a Dark Lance, and it was the Dark Lance that finished off the last Vanguard member, and then used Fire and Fade for the Ravager to get behind a wall. So there's really only one vehicle in line of sight for the Castellan robot, so it's probably toast with Bring It Down and all of the fighting and shooting and everything it can do. The Drukhari did score domination at the end of the turn, as well as first strike, so they got a few points up on the board. Oh, and the Castellans eliminated one squad of Cabalite warriors that was down here. I did forget to mention that. So both armies lost a squad of troops to shooting, and was kind of expected. So the end of the turn is, or the battle round is now done. Both armies also raised a single banner. So we'll move on. We'll see what happens after this. It'll be a little bit of an uphill battle for the Admech until they can get some things killed. Not going to be nearly as mobile as the Drukhari, so we're going to see how the scoring hurts or benefits either army here. We'll come back after turn 2 for the Admech. Rather surprising turn has ended. The entire squad over here moved up in a big castle, fired off a bunch of shots into the Venom, but it's -1 to hit, and then also getting the 6-up Feel No Pain kept it almost unwounded. It took a total of 3 wounds from all the firepower over here, and then because of Bring It Down and needing to get some objectives away from the enemy, the robots had to charge in. They did actually 2 more wounds in combat, more than they did in shooting, which is kind of funny. And then these guys are going to stay put. They did leave this objective back here because I forgot to mention, with this particular mission, once you've claimed an objective, it stays yours until the enemy comes to take it away from you. So now the Drukhari have to decide what to do over here. It's kind of interesting. This makes things, domination's going to be harder because now they've got to get rid of some robots. Yeah, some decisions have to be made. Getting a squad of Cabalite warriors out here just to take an objective is going to be not long lasting, so that might not be a thing. So we're going to go for some tricksiness and see if the Drukhari with their sneaky ways can take the advantage back to their side. So we'll come back after Drukhari turn 2. So the end of the Drukhari turn 2. The Venom wisely chose to run away from the Castellan robots over there because they're going to shoot it in combat and it's not going to win that fight. So it came over here, got within range of this objective marker to take the banner down and just to be spiteful, I suppose. So the Admech lose their banner. Drazar came in here, set up to get a nice charge off on the Datasmith and the Tech Priest, and failed the charge. And even with turn 2, Power from Pain allowing him to reroll the charge, he failed the charge. So that was fairly pointless of him. Poor fellow. This Ravager scooted up, got line of sight on the robots, did get a couple of shots through with the Disintegrators, but they were all saved by the robots and the repulsor grid. And then the Dark Lance actually did work, although it only did 1 damage on the first damage roll, so the command point was spent to reroll that, and it did 6. Removed a Castellan robot. That was kind of clutch. So yes, that was good work. So the end of the Drukhari turn 2, they did score 10 points in primary for holding 2 objective markers at the time. This one here was contested. However, at the end of their turn, they once again hold 3 objectives, so they'll get domination 1 more time. They scored first strike already, and from Raise the Banners, they got a single point. So that's where we stand on that. Drukhari are scoring better in secondaries currently. The Admech will get a few more in this turn. But yeah, see if the Admech can start killing vehicles and do the business that they need to do. We'll come back at the end of Admech turn 3. The end of the Admech turn 3. The Vanguard and the Tech Priest, actually the Tech Priest killed the Venom. The Vanguard shot almost all of the Cabalite warriors to death, and then the Tech Priest and the Vanguard charged them. reclaiming this objective and swiftly dispatching the Kabalite warriors. So they do get 2 points for bring it down. They will be able to hold this objective. The data smith came over here and raised the banner, so again we have a banner raised, and then the robot came down this way to get line of sight on the venom, which ended up not mattering because it was gone. So the robot shot at Drazar, only took a single wound off, and that's where we stand. So we'll come back, we'll get the scoring updated, and then we'll come back at the end of Drukhari turn 3. End of Drukhari turn 3. Drazar made his charge, killed the tech priest in glorious combat. The vanguard swung back, even with minus 1 toughness on Drazar. They still did no wounds because of his 2-up save, and they had no AP. It is what it is. Over here, Mr. Datasmith took 2 wounds from shooting. That was it. So then the Ravager had to come in and charge, because otherwise we're giving up points again for no apparent reason. And because that objective is still held by the Ravager over there because we were on it at one point in time. Archon stayed still. So it was kind of interesting. The Datasmith's hanging around. Castellan didn't take any wounds. Managed to save the shots from the Dark Lance. And that's about it. So the Tech Priest being gone is a problem. The Admech for one of the secondaries had taken While We Stand, We Fight. So that would be the 2 robots and the Tech Priest being the most expensive units. So 2 of those 3 are gone. We'll have to see if they can weather the rest of the storm. Drazar most likely will take care of the Vanguard in the next turn, getting to fight first. But we'll see. It's not a given, not guaranteed. And then we'll see what happens with this. Kind of interesting. The Datasmith is probably the best equipped to destroy the Ravager in the shooting phase and combat phase with his pistol and his power fist, but only took 1 wound off of the Ravager in the last turn, so might charge with the Castellan robot to be able to at least shoot at it in combat. It's interesting. Unsure exactly what's going to happen. So there will be a pause here while the Admech get ready for turn 4, and we finish tallying up the score. See you later. Wow. We will come back and or see you later in the Admech turn 4. So the Vanguard fell back, allowing Drazar to get shot at by the Castellan, who did no wounds to him. They couldn't shoot at him, obviously, because they fell back, so they're standing there wishing that that had gone a little better, because now Drazar can make a charge into them, and that's going to be extra bad for them. But that is what it is. Castellan turned around and charged into the Ravager, did a wound. Unfortunately, the Datasmith did not do any wounds on the Ravager. The Ravager did a wound back onto the Datasmith. So not the most exciting combat happening here. Nothing happened over here, which was really surprising. Figured that the Castellan would either kill or at least really injure Drazar, but he did not. So, Drukhari turn 4 coming up. So that happened about as was expected. Drazar charges, wipes out the Vanguard. They were not long for this world anyways. Over here, the Ravager shot and killed the Datasmith, and then did nothing to the Castellan once again. Even though the Dark Lance hit, it failed to wound, ironically. CP rerolled it, still failed to wound. And then nothing was done in combat between either of these 2 chonky boys, so that's not terribly shocking. However, at the end of this turn, it does mean that Drukhari will once again have domination, and that's just another set of points going into their cap. So the Drukhari definitely have this game in hand. There is only 1 more turn, so we'll play it out just to play it out, and we'll come back at the end of that. So yeah, over here, Castellan fired in, did some hitting, all of those things, knocked the Ravager down to 6 wounds remaining, definitely did not kill it, so there goes their chance for bring it down points and for holding an objective. So, beginning of Drukhari turn 5, Drazar is going to move up, see if he can get a cheeky charge and try and help get rid of this Castellan. and eliminate the last few points that can be scored for while we stand we fight. So we'll see what happens. Come back at the end of the game with a summary and a score update. Well, at the end of the day, Drazar came in, knocked the poor robot down to 1 wound left. The robot put all his anger into the Ravager, knocked it down to 3. There's no way he was going to kill it, but might as well keep working on what you're working on. And that's it. So Drukhari definitely won this one. Interestingly, the terrain was not in the advantage of the AdMech, even though it's some Adeptus Mechanicus terrain. A little irony there. And the final score ended up being pretty rough. Final score for this game was 58 Drukhari to 28 Adeptus Mechanicus. So there you have it. End of the game. A lot of fun. Very interesting. This list is a little bit better. Be interesting to see how the Drukhari list does against Space Marines at 500 points, because the Cabalites can die well, or quickly, I mean. They always die well, because that's what they do. But I don't know. I actually expected the Adeptus Mechanicus list with its firepower to do more work. Yeah, that's how it plays out. So, end of the game. It's been a fun one. Thank you for watching. It's been another Kitchen Table Wargaming production. I've enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed as well. Once again, list feedback. Always looking for that. Rules. Maybe there were some stratagems that I missed. I did use a few here and there that I might not have mentioned. But I tried really hard to make sure everybody knew what was going on. There was a fire and fade that happened once. Onslaught with Drazar, which helped in 2 of the fights. Didn't really make a huge difference in some of them. And yeah, I think that was about it. With the Adeptus Mechanicus, there were a couple of times it was tempting to use the battle protocol override for this robot to change his battle protocol, but really just staying in the Aegis protocol, getting to be able to shoot, still move and fire, and still get a benefit to your cover save, or a plus to your cover save, and invulnerable save is pretty good. Helped him out a bit, kept him more alive, more durable. It was pretty interesting. So he's still there. He did score 5 points for while we stand we fight for the AdMech, so he did his thing. But it was a good game. A lot of fun, interesting, different outcome than I expected. So yeah, thanks for watching. Kitchen Table Wargaming, signing off.